Hello everyone. Good afternoon, and we are glad to host you to our first session for the Cloud Computing with Red Hat Research Group. Welcome everyone, and thank you for showing such an amazing response for registering for this research group. So to start off with, today we are kicking off our first event for this group with a speaker series. So we'll have an introduction from a Red Hat member. So we have Nadan joining us from Red Hat. He is a chief architect and strategist for North America at Red Hat. Today he'll be providing you the introduction about the organization. Me and Abhishek, we are the Red Hat ambassadors there to connect with you. We are striving to promote and build a cloud computing community at Northeastern. And we'll be coming up with more such events where we'll engage with all of you, try to get as much as students, and we'll work on some interesting assignments during the semester. So a brief introduction about Nadan. He has 25 plus years of experience in the IT industry for selling, delivering, and managing the enterprise solutions for global enterprises. He is also providing a thought leadership on various concepts, including cloud, big data analytics, and Internet of Things through multiple channels, including the industry conferences, roundtables, and customer-specific briefing sessions. He is also specialized into business innovation, technological innovations, cloud computing, DevOps, open source, and he's also a great social media engagement. We had collaborated just for this just started, and we could already observe that on his platforms. So welcome, Nadan, and thank you so much for initiating this research group with your session. And I would like to hand over the platform to you to start your presentation.
Thank you. Don't believe everything that Sibaka is telling about me. But anyway, I want to keep this very conversational, and I just started sharing my screen, and I just went into presentation mode. Sibaka, can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see the presentation.
Excellent. So how much time do I have? I know it is like 4:36 now. How should I time this?
You can time it till 5:25. We can have it for that. Yeah.
Sounds good. So let me start by, there we go. Who is Red Hat? Well, I'm actually going to talk about Red Hat, the company, the culture that we espouse from a Red Hat open source perspective. What does that mean? And how we work across the ecosystem. It is more than an organization. I personally have been with Red Hat for 6 years. I've been in the industry for decades. You will have a good shot at how old I am if I give you too many specifics. So I'm not going to. I would like to consider myself to be as young in thinking as you are, as excited and innovative and enthusiastic. And that's why I like being with Red Hat. And then I'm going to also give a quick overview of containers, Kubernetes, and also, what's the big deal about Openshift? I'm going to give you a precursor to that, as well as what is Red Hat Academy all about, the value of working with Sibaka and Abhishek, as Red Hat ambassadors, what they, represent for you and how it will add value to you. Those are all the things I'm going to be talking about today. But let's start with Red Hat. We are the world's largest enterprise software company with an open source development model. The numbers on the slide speak for themselves. We are definitely global. Now, this slide, all it says is Red Hat is still Red Hat. There is a lot behind that slide. Why is this slide here? Because most, if not all of you, should know that Red Hat was acquired by another three-letter company called IBM. And if you look at the history of IBM acquisitions, IBM would acquire a company and then make them part of IBM. and the whole everything changes. The logo and how the company does what they do and so on becomes part of the century-old company called IBM. Now, with Red Hat, though, it is very different. Red Hat is we are still operating the way we used to before the acquisition because Red Hat is different, and IBM wants Red Hat to be different, and you will see why. It is because of the open innovation. It is because that our ability and our advocacy to be open source, open culture, very collaborative, and that open platform that you will see in today's session. IBM wants to retain that. So that's why you see the slide saying Red Hat is still Red Hat. Because honestly, there was some trepidation and apprehension. Oh, IBM acquired Red Hat, and is Red Hat now going to be Blue Hat? Nope, you can see it right here. Nothing has changed. So when you take a flight, when you make a phone call, when you go to the bank, when if you have to go for a medical checkup and whatnot, there is Red Hat in there as an enabling platform. 100% of all of these industries, they use Red Hat software. So I shared this because if you hang your hat with Red Hat, so to speak, then you're assured that there is a very wide spectrum of companies who are using the platform. So, when you're looking at yourself as a student of NEU, and then you will come out, and then some of you may stick to academia, some of you may go into the workforce, and so on. You want to come out with capabilities that are being leveraged, the adoption, and that's what this is telling you. It is all built on two words called open source. What does that mean? So going back to the very first slide, when I said, we are the world's largest enterprise software company with an open source development model, this is what it means. So everything starts upstream. Upstream means, anyone, you will see, by the way, how you can actively participate with some of our research projects. But let's say you want to, contribute to Fedora or Kubernetes and different projects. You can do that. There are at any point of time there is a million projects that are going on in the community, and that's what is upstream all the way to the left. What Red Hat does is we have employees who are paid to be contributors in the open source community. That's their job. Now, this is a community where you are known for what you do, not for your title or anything. If I were to go to the community and say, hey, I am the chief architect for North America at Red Hat and so on, they would be like, so what? What matters is what have I done? What am I contributing? And the number of commits and how much is my let's say what I'm doing, how much is that respected and how is that utilized and so on. So this is a community of folks who do what they want to do, not so much what they have to do. So that's what the upstream participation is about. Now, if you go to the community and you ask them, hey, where is this project headed? You will have a multitude of projects, and where is it headed? What is the life cycle and so on? You may get an answer, I don't know. I don't care. I do this because I like watching movies. I like cooking. I like, having fun. I like coding. So they do it because it is their passion. Now, what we do is we bring a good critical mass of upstream projects into products. What's the difference? Products have life cycle. Products have a roadmap. Products have features that matter to our customers. Customers like the very airline you flew, the bank you go to, the telecommunications provider for your phone calls and internet. These are the enterprise customers. So We bring the projects into our platform, we harden it, we stabilize it, we secure it, and that's what is morphed into a product with value-added features you will see later. That's our development model. But here is the interesting piece. We just don't fork the code and branch and then we say, hey, this is the Red Hat piece. We cycle it back to the open source community. That's a continuous cycle of innovation. That's what makes Red Hat special. And that's how, you know, the whole Linux operating system, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, that's, I want to say it's a little more than 25 years old. And when we started, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we thought, I was not there on that very day, but I wouldn't be surprised if we looked at open source as software. What we have learned over the years is it's really about culture, open culture. It's about collaboration. Before the pandemic, I used to travel a lot, and the Uber driver would ask me, so who do you work for? And I don't wear this hat because it gets all mushied up and everything when trying to transport it. So I would wear the baseball cap. But so he'll ask, what's up with this Red Hat? Some of them will actually know, oh, you are that Linux company. And then others would be like, what do you do? What does Red Hat do? I will tell them Red Hat is like the Wikipedia for software. It's that's the open source model. Anyone can go and contribute, you collaborate. Now, if somebody were to be, they are up to some mischief, then somebody else will come and make sure they are on point. So there is a self-monitoring that goes on with everything being open. Transparency, that matters. When you put heads together, the problems are identified and resolved. And then, we work together to define standards, what matters, for different industries or, security standards and so on. So that is the collaborative culture that we have come to espouse. So the culture of open source, now what does that mean? Internally, it means, we are, for example, there is like Red Hat has got like an announce list where anyone, CEO down, participates in that. And nobody is shy. Sometimes it borders on arrogance, I must honestly say, but hey, that's what open debate and communication is about. But let me tell you a couple of stories about what does that mean, collaborative inclusion. So we were just recognized as the 2021 best workplace for women. I must say I have not been, keeping track of how many likes or who liked it and so on for the announcement, like Sibaka was saying in social media, but I could generally sense there is a good mix of, different genders, different ethnicity, and so on. And it's not just about, going to a college that obviously embraces diversity and different types of thinking and so on. You need to be in a workplace that also recognizes that. So Red Hat is named the 2021 best workplace for women. I am very proud to share that. Take a look at this. Just today, this morning, there was a virtual job fair. And this was specifically for folks with disabilities, neurodiversity, chronically ill. And this was, in fact, the organization is chronically capable. They actually hosted this fair to be accommodative and inclusive of such folks. So again, gives me great pride to share. That's what I mean by open culture. Now, let's take it to the the segment that you currently belong to, you as in the Northeastern University students. Red Hat Research, it's a team in our office of the CTO with a continued commitment to open source research and education. We collaborate with Boston University. We do collaborate with Northeastern University. I call that out with your logo. And these are all the different topics that we collaborate on. With the IBM acquisition, we are now, there are IBM research collaborations that are happening as well. And you will see that it is really collaborating with a purpose. One of the, there are internships and co-ops for, so you see the number of students. And one of the reasons, one of the projects that we were working on is contact tracing. This happened during the pandemic. coming up with a protocol that is sensitive to data privacy and so on. So it is not just about technology projects that we work on in the open source community. It's also working on projects that have outcomes that mean something to us. So these are the collaborations that are happening today. By the way, um, the, the Red Hat Academy team is the one that has been working with, Sibaka and Abhishek and, about the whole, the courses that can be taken and so on, which I will get into. This here is out of the office of the CTO. And yes, Northeastern University folks, faculty are working with us on such projects. And you have the links and everything. I'll be sharing this with you. And research.redhat.com is where you go to look at the different types of projects that Red Hat and Northeastern are working on. Now, here is a challenge to you. You don't have to wait to get a job with Red Hat. You don't have to wait to be an intern at Red Hat. You don't have to wait to be a co-op at Red Hat. These links, you can actually suggest a project. You may be thinking of, hey, wouldn't it be cool? And I will let you finish that line. Wouldn't it be cool to do something with, the combination of open source projects? I mean, your whole career is, ahead of you. And you can feel free to actually suggest a project. But by the way, I'm not monitoring the chat, Sibaka and Abhishek. So do feel free to interrupt me if you see a question or any such thing at any time.
Sure.
No
Sure.
problem. Mm-hmm. And there are competitions that we run as well. So again, you don't have to wait to become formally part of Red Hat. That's what I mean by open culture. Everyone here, feel free to click on the link and have fun. So for every Red Hat product, you will see that there is an open source project. So going back a couple of slides, you would remember what we do with the projects and how do we bring that into the product platform and make sure it is secure, hardened, and so on. For every product, enterprise Linux, virtualization, middleware, Openshift, you are seeing the equivalent open source project. If we acquired a company, and yes, we have acquired companies even after the IBM acquisition, where if it so happens that the company we acquire has proprietary code, let's say they are not open source. Once they are acquired, it's just a matter of time before which that code is open source. So not having the option to open source is a non-starter when it comes to our acquisitions. So that's just kind of punctuating what I mean when I say it is open source. It starts upstream in the communities, but then we bring it to the enterprise and just the global network of enterprises where our customers are. So that is how the portfolio has grown over the years. And today, when we look at the common challenges that our customers have, so when I meet with CIOs and CTOs for our customers, typically it's about having the infrastructure that goes across multiple clouds, or even just going from the bare metal server, the hardware server that in the data center, and then the virtualized environment, and then tippy-toeing into one of the public clouds. That's typically how it starts. Believe it or not, we did a survey last year. There were still some enterprises who are still thinking about whether to go to the cloud or not. Because there are some concerns, they may be concerned about compliance, or at least from their perspective, data privacy, security, and so on. But I must say, more and more enterprises, the majority, have definitely ventured into the cloud, at least one cloud. Then the other challenge we see is developing applications that are, that are suited for the cloud. So there is a difference between modernizing and transforming existing legacy applications with dated technologies, modernizing them, and then deploying them to the cloud. That's one way. But developers, application developers are continuously writing code, just like they do in the open source community. But within the enterprises, application development teams need to have the ability to develop, innovate, deliver at a at a pace that matches or exceeds the pace of business, anticipating customer needs and so on. So cloud native development is definitely one area where we see significant traction. But then what happens is the development team is all excited. Yay, we got like an environment provision. Here is a virtualized environment or a container platform and whatnot. And then it gets deployed, and suddenly the system administrators are all about, hey, wait a minute. We need to manage this. We need consistency. We don't need chaos. Don't just deploy code in different shapes and forms. And so automation matters, seamless management matters. So that's where these are the challenges that I talk about as a Red Hatter, like the other 16,999 Red Hatters do. That's just not everybody does that, but we all work together with a common goal. That's the point I'm making. So hybrid cloud infrastructure, cloud native development, automation and management, roughly put. That's why we have the portfolio that you are seeing here. So what is this telling you? Even today, believe it or not, some companies would be like, oh, you are the Linux company. But today, containers are the new Linux. We have grown up the stack. What's interesting is there was a time, and without going into the details of how old the average age of this population, I will tell you most likely, this was a time that even predates many of you. Most of you may not even have been born during this time, but there was like Unix. There were different proprietary hardware, like Sun and even IBM at that time, and so on. HP. They had their own flavors of Unix, and then Linux comes along, and it didn't matter what hardware it is. Linux would run on all the platforms. All the hardware, commodity hardware. That's what gained the popularity. Let's travel in the time machine, like that Back to the Future movie, let's come maybe 20, 30 years ahead. And today, containers are the new Linux. What does that mean? It doesn't matter which cloud you're on, whether you're on AWS, on Google's cloud, IBM's cloud, Microsoft Azure. It doesn't matter if you're on the edge devices. It doesn't matter if you're using a private cloud with OpenStack. You could be running on any of the hardware with the bare metal, and then you could be running any virtualized solution. You see Red Hat virtualization solution here, but you could be on a Microsoft hypervisor. You can be on VMware. Doesn't matter. Openshift is the new Linux. Containers are the new Linux. Openshift will actually run on any of these environments. That's a key message I want you to take away, because the moment you are on a particular hardware platform, you're kind of stuck with what they have to offer, and then it's kind of like moving into a house, or moving and then having to move to a different house later, or distribute it across different residences and whatnot. What you need, you may still need to do that, but you need a consistent platform that goes across. Because what it allows the companies to do is to leverage the container platform to focus on what they are really differentiating themselves with, their competencies. It's like the formula that Pepsi uses. It is the routing, the flight scheduling algorithm that Delta uses, and so on. It is the pricing model that Walmart uses. These are all things that companies are never going to open source. So in order that enterprises can differentiate themselves, in order that they can innovate wherever they want, the container platform provides the application development team the ability to deploy new features, develop new features in response or anticipating market needs, and then deploy it consistently. That's really what the container platform is about. Now, just because you have an operating system, a container platform, a cloud environment, and so on, doesn't mean you get automatic access to data. You still need to access data. That's where the Red Hat integration comes in. If you're familiar with tools like the suite of JBoss tools with APIs and message queues and adapters and whatnot, connectors and so on, that's what integration is. Process automation is about automating the business process workflows. So every company will have an IT department, and then they will have business units that are, maybe they are processing orders, or managing inventory, or making reservations for a flight, and or processing patient records. When did the patient last show up? Every company has got business workflow. So that's what the process automation is about. The code ready is, so another tendency we have seen in companies, especially with the development team, is the developer would be like, hey, I got this. I want to use the open source tool that I like best, and I will write code all day long. And imagine different developers wanting to use different tools and so on. That can get a little bit chaotic. The code ready workspace provides companies a way to have controlled freedom for the developers, so the developers can use a controlled set of tools. They still have some freedom, but it's kind of a library of tools that works best for their needs. That's code ready. So we have spoken about the developers' needs. What about the management team? So you have heard of the term DevOps. Development is more about, hey, I want to innovate, I want to be creative, I want to add new features and so on. The management, the operations team is all about stability. We want to make sure it is running. We don't want a system outage. We don't want to be called by our CIO in the middle of the night. So, be careful. Don't deploy stuff to production that can actually cause some wrinkles and so on. That's the type of concerns that the operators have. So hence the term DevOps, it's at the confluence. Openshift, by the way, it's right there at the confluence of where the development team meets operations. But if we look at the operations side, there are multiple things going on. Satellite is for managing configurations. Insights is actually interesting because it actually not, in addition to monitoring what could go wrong, so if it just tells you, hey, this is going to happen, or it just predicts something that is going to go wrong, what use is that? You, as the operator, would still have to take some steps. What Insights does is, not only does it anticipate what is going wrong, it also provides prescriptive methods to remediate. It's proactive remediation based on AI analytics being applied to historical data. That's Insights. Ansible is the automation platform for deploying code, for agentless. It is simple with playbooks. I've been to Red Hat workshops around Ansible, and a key aspect of any of this tooling is, what's the level of adoption? If the adoption is such, that is broad adoption, then companies don't have to worry about the access to talent. You don't want to invest in technologies for which you have to strive hard to find people. So Ansible workshops, usually it is held at like football stadiums and so on, US Bank in Minneapolis, or Toyota Stadium in Dallas and so on, because that's the type of crowd we get when we are presenting on Ansible. So that's an automation platform. So OpenShift, Ansible, these are all technologies that you couldn't go wrong by having expertise in, period. So there are many customer stories, but some of you will be looking ahead to joining the workforce, and then maybe at some point buying a car of your own. You may already have one. I'm just making a story up here, but BMW is one of our customers. And look at what the chief architect at BMW is sharing, that without this solution, achieving the right level would take millions of years. OpenShift makes the deployment of new applications as easy as possible. And that matters. That matters for the success, not only of the company, but the IT department based on how the business units perceive them. So now you should have an idea about who Red Hat is, what we do, where a very high level where OpenShift and containers fit in. And now let me talk about the talent that you can bring to the industry. So based on a survey of the open source jobs report, employers are seeking open source talent. I also happen to know, by the way, that when candidates are looking for jobs, they are also asking, what are you doing with open source? Because that's where the real fun is. I mean, when you join a company, you want to have fun. You want to come to work, you want to do what you do because you like doing. That's the and oh, by the way, if you get paid for it, that's cool. So the hiring managers are definitely seeking, Linux-based talent, DevOps skills. You see the numbers. So there is definitely a demand. From a Northeastern University perspective, like other colleges, the school would be interested in, placement. So is the school coming, producing students with the right set of skills? And these stats, speak to that. 65% of IT leaders report that there is a skill shortage, and you hear in the news about all this, job. Uh, there are job openings, but people are not going back to work. So this is very specific to IT. This is not related as much to that, but even so, 65% of leaders report there is a skill shortage. Now that's where the Red Hat Academy comes in. Our role, so now I'm talking about the academies, to bridge the gap between education and the industry, to work with teams, individuals like those on the call today. So with institutions, what we bring is course offerings with different institutions. The colleges like Northeastern can actually work with the recognized leader for Linux. You get curriculum in Linux, in cloud, in Openshift, aligning the courses to the design that is required, with some flexibility in the designing. We provide curriculum to train the instructors in Northeastern. Students can have access to in-demand skills and get certified with discounted exams. Certification matters. And these are the details where you can work with your ambassadors, the Red Hat ambassadors, on. Because of the academy, excuse me, students get hands-on experience with lab environments. You have access to standardized materials, instructor support, certification, and course content. You get the curriculum. You do not have to, Northeastern does not have to prepare the curriculum. You get access to hands-on lab environments. The specifics of, you will, when you see no fee, so as long as there are hardware requirements that meet the needs, you're good. So you can download and deploy your own labs. You can work with different partners to provide hands-on labs. Now, if it has to be hosted in the cloud, then there is a fee involved. We can get into the details, offline. And there are materials, courseware, course content in different languages, the learning platform. All of these are available to you. And you can have, there is discounted access for instructors to get certified. So basically what we have done as Red Hat Academy is provided a platform for you to advance yourself with the course content, access to certifications, discounted access, and so on. So that's the learning platform, centralized environment, easily accessible. Now, we did have to pivot a little based on, before the COVID, we used to be on site and all that. So now the good news is some of them are actually available virtually. So you don't have to be too concerned about that. These numbers speak for themselves. So this is like the learning community. You can see, again, the engagement, the adoption, that really matters. So that's a snapshot as of May this year. And you can also see it is global. So you see different colleges that are actually partners, and they partner with us from an academy perspective, with the sole intent of making sure that the students have access to this curriculum and they come out with those specialized skills that make them more marketable, more valuable. So, that's really the intent. Now, just a quick overview with context on the different courses that are available. Um, Heads up, Sibaka and Abhishek, I may want you or request you, if you want to, uh, add a little color to the courses DO180 and 101 that you see highlighted in red. But these are the different courses that are available as part of the curriculum. You see core. Now, I'm not saying everyone here, stop everything and just get on OpenShift. Your interest drives what you want to get certified in, what courses you want to take. There is a demand for all of this. So there is system administration courses. There is OpenStack administration, app development, and programming in Java, and getting certified on those. And then there is the one for OpenShift. There is an introductory course, and then the DO180. Sibaka, Abhishek, did you want to add something to those courses, the OpenShift ones?
Yeah, sure. So this will be the two initial courses that we'll be enabling for the students. This would be the announcement that we were supposed to, that we are having us for all the students for this event. And both the courses, they are not only enhancing your skill sets on the OpenShift platform, but they are giving you a great insight about containers and Kubernetes, which are one of the primary topics in your DevOps portfolio, and very useful for anyone who is interested to learn more about the cloud computing things. So yeah, this will be the courses which will provide you a benchmark for them.
Yeah,
And
and also I would like to add that these courses are basic courses, so you don't need to have any prior experience before taking these courses. So everything, like right from basics, these courses will introduce you to containers, Kubernetes right from basic. So you don't need to worry about if you have some knowledge or you need to have some hands-on. So these are the courses. Also, you will be provided with environment, like running environment like AWS or Google Cloud, in which you can do your coding. So you don't need to like externally purchase your own cloud. So this courses will, and we, if you are planning to enroll to these courses, you will be getting free access to the cloud.
Thank you. I could not have said that better. So thank you, Abhishek and Sibaka. Um, at this point, I'm actually going to transition. I know you said these courses will provide, that'll be, it is introductory, but I do have a few slides just to, instill the concept and frankly, the excitement about what containers, Kubernetes, OpenShift is all about. That's what the next set of slides are. But I want to pause. I want to pause to see, even based on what I have shared so far, are there any questions? Because this is a point of transition. It will be a good point to maybe, if you have any questions, I can try answering those. All right. In that case, let us jump into innovating with absolutely no limitation. What does that mean? So innovation, we are about open culture. We are about open source. We are about open mindset. We are really about open innovation at speed. Now, I cannot think, there have been some major events in our lifetimes, but the pandemic is one such event where things changed and companies had to adapt. And they had to adapt with new customer experiences, more online and less on premise, and Zoom calls and whatnot. So change is a constant, and companies need that flexibility to adapt. And the ability to adapt with technologies of the past, the technologies of today, and the technologies of future, no matter what are the different environments you have, current, past, current, and future. You need the platform that can actually allow you to innovate no matter what the environment is. That's what hybrid cloud is about. Going hybrid is more than just a strategy. Why is it called hybrid? It's really mixing what is coming, the new, and accommodating what is old. You cannot just say, hey, this is legacy investment, let's just retire it, get rid of that. You cannot do that unless there is some natural disaster that just completely takes it away and so on. But thankfully it doesn't happen every day. So companies cannot just decide to, hey, let's get rid of that, because there is so much intellectual property and investments made in business logic and data and so on. So many companies, their competitive value is new features that they are deploying, but based on the data that they have collected and the history and the richness of their experience with those customer segments. They cannot get rid of that easily. So hybrid is more than a strategy. It is mixing new and old. It is the ability to coexist with different development environments with partners. It is about working with from a development standpoint with different tools, CI/CD pipelines, policies for different types of segments in the IT domain. It is about having the infrastructure. Again, you see at the bottom, this is the main idea here. Whether you're on a physical server or a virtualized environment, an open stack, private cloud, any of the public clouds, edge, it doesn't matter. Being coexist, if you are on two of these, especially if you are on one of the physical virtual, almost everyone is on virtual anyway, and any one of these, you're hybrid, period. 63% are hybrid today, and even if you're not, they are planning to go hybrid within 24 months. What does that tell you? You as a student coming out of Northeastern better be prepared and enabled and certified to work for companies who have embraced the hybrid model. That increases your marketability. That's why you should consider what Red Hat has to offer, the certifications, and so on. It is not just based on, by the way, it is cool. It is sexy to work with containers and Kubernetes. I am a technologist, I will say that, but it is also cool to be, equipped with knowledge and experience that markets your abilities to, the customers. So it is the agility to innovate, deploy new code, securely connect operations. Security matters. You heard about the ransomware for the pipeline. You never know when it is going to hit you. And then have global delivery models. That's why Red Hat Openshift has been built. So any organization can thrive in the hybrid possibility. So you see the infrastructure. Here is Openshift. You have different communities of innovation working across different partners and ecosystems of solutions. That's really what Openshift allows you to do, because let us say there are, two airline companies. For example, Chevron and Cummins, I don't know how much you are into these companies, but an oil and gas company and a company that actually works with, provisioning water, and, it's a manufacturing company. They are collaborating on how they can use hydrogen as an alternative fuel. That's what I mean by communities of innovation and ecosystems of solutions. And if, let us say, one company had, they had technologies deployed on one cloud, Amazon, let's say, and the other one is on Google. If they want to collaborate, that ecosystem needs to be accommodative of going across multiple clouds. Hello, Red Hat Openshift. It could be traditional apps. It can be cloud native applications. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we have actually seen, in fact, since the last time I presented here, there is much more, embrace the AI ML functions. The data science team has been using Openshift for more and more as the platform for their machine learning models, for deep learning and so on. Data as code is definitely getting prominence. So, I know this is like the AI skunk works team. So I don't want, I want you to think about, yes, AI is about analyzing, it is about, analytics and data science and so on. But you also need to factor in that everybody is a developer at heart, and then you work with data. So Openshift actually provides you that platform no matter where it falls, whether it is the development team, the DevOps team, the operations team, the data science team, it covers it all consistently with great flexibility. So you have different flavors of Openshift, and you see the different clouds, and you can start that very quickly across different clouds. And so one use case that I have not seen as much, even though it is technically possible. So typically the use case is more, there are different types of workloads. And workloads, which cloud they go to depends on the types of services that particular cloud provider provides. So does it match what services the workload needs? It could be Amazon, it could be Azure, and so on. And so it is about deploying different workloads to different clouds. That's something we see all the time. OpenShift can actually enable you to move workloads from one environment to another transparently. It is not, because there is that platform, over the different cloud environments, you could move the workloads as you see fit. But frankly, we have not seen that use case being leveraged. Maybe companies have some trepidation in actually moving the workloads. There better be a good reason, and if there is a way to move it for whatever it be, high availability and business continuity and so on, maybe they are just conforming to that. But technically, it is possible. But it certainly provides you the ability to deploy workloads across different clouds and provides you transparency. So very quickly, maybe in the remaining 5 minutes, here is an overview of what does it mean? What is OpenShift? And let me see if I can move this a little, maybe here. Okay. So it's about compute network storage, fundamentally. It's about, there are different workloads that run. So there are worker components. And then there is a master that is kind of the control plane for these, managing these workloads. Whoops, sorry, too fast. So the image is actually deployed within a container. A pod contains multiple containers, so everything runs in pods. Now, in that framework, there are existing frameworks from the open source community, like etcd and so on, that maintains the state. There is cluster management and Kubernetes API servers and so on that's available. And these are components, the blue ones are components that come with Kubernetes. This is from the open source community, which we actively contribute to. By the way, in the open source community for the Kubernetes project, the #1 individual contributor works for Red Hat. That's what I mean by the Red Hat being the catalyst for innovation in the open source community. But what OpenShift brings is the additional features that you are seeing. So lifecycle management, the web console, and then it starts blending in with monitoring and logging and SDNs and kubelets and whatnot. And slowly you start seeing this work on different types of hosts, having the registry for performance monitoring and dashboards, Elasticsearch and the routers. And slowly, if OpenShift was not there, all of these capabilities would have to be built and maintained working with the open source community by the different companies. What happens then is these companies become IT companies that are just maintaining technology. Why should they? Why would they? They are not in the business of IT. They are in their own business, flying aircraft, opening stores and serving hamburgers and whatever they do, that's what they are known for. If they have a platform that takes care of all of these, they can have their resources actually focus on what they differentiate themselves with. That's what OpenShift brings. It covers the developers, from the software configuration management, the CI/CD, and then for the admins, there are automation tool sets that actually make life easier for them. So that's really the what OpenShift provides. And what does working with Red Hat mean? So it is about technology. It's about security. It's about stability. It's about reliability. You don't want to run on a platform that requires you to call somebody, page somebody, or text and whatnot at 2 o'clock in the morning. You want to work, with companies that provide a platform that is actually robust, not even today, but it is assured that it is on a journey of innovation. It's a journey of change with the open source community. 2 years, so it has been maybe 1.5 years since I presented to Northeastern. Who knows? Abhishek might call me again in a couple of years. I don't know. But in that time, I'm sure technology would have advanced. But if companies cannot afford to, okay, let's go with this technology today and then completely shift to something else tomorrow. Even if they have to do it, if they go in with the enterprise grade open source approach, they are in. They are in for the ride and have fun. That's really what enterprise grade certainty and future proofing it is. That's what it means. And because that's what it means for companies, that's what it means for your careers, so that you are not just getting certified in a technology that will be dated, in a couple of years, because with that certification, you can build up on it and continue to stay up to date with the technology of the future. That's why, the expertise, we bring experience that can be trusted. So there you go. I think maybe I'm a couple of minutes over. So Sibaka, Abhishek, I'm glad to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nadan. I mean, it was an amazing insights for all of us and a great session to start off our semesters with. So I would open the floor. Guys, feel free to ask a question, unmute yourself. You can also post your questions on chat. Anyone like to have any questions? Okay. Maybe by then we'll already initiate our Teams channel, so everyone will be joining us there. So we'll definitely have more interactions on those platforms and in the upcoming sessions. Since we are only 2 minutes left, so I think okay, we have a question. Okay, what are the next plans for the club? Yeah, so basically, we'll be having and detailed update on the entire semester plan on the Teams channel, and we'll also have few more to highlight. We'll be having some speaker series sessions. We are planning to conduct technical articles and research paper reading activities. And we would also like to know if any student is specifically interested with some project or to host something on the cloud. We'll be more than happy to engage ourselves with that. And definitely the primary purpose would be to the first initiative that we'll be having is we are enabling the two courses that are just announced, the 101 and 180 for the containers Kubernetes, the basic one. They are the intro courses, but very useful to give you a structured start on the topics around cloud computing. So yeah, once you join the Teams channel, do expect us an announcement by tomorrow or by Friday on how to register for those courses, and from there we'll take it ahead.
Also, I would like to add, Sibaka.
Yeah.
Also we are going to take hands-on sessions on this particular courses. So for example, on containers, Kubernetes or cloud and OpenShift. So we are going to give you courses, the access for the courses, that is separate part, but also bi-weekly we are going to have speaker series from Red Hat experts, which will be hands-on sessions. So if you are interested in joining, hands-on sessions, so you can literally do all that practice like with Red Hat experts.
Yeah. So I think we have last 1 minute left. We'll open the floor for if you have any questions. We'll be still around for next few more minutes. And yeah, do join the Teams channel so that you get the further updates there. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Clearly, I
Thank you
think
so much
whatever
for
I said
joining
was
us.
crystal clear for everyone. So nobody has any questions.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it was nice. Having you here was nice.
Okay.
Yeah, with that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much.
Nadan.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
so
Thank you,
much.
Abhishek.
Nadan.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.